Okay, so I'm going to show you how to build a Duolingo style points-based system into any web or mobile app. So I've got a basic NextJS app here, and it's just for studying flashcards. So we've got a set of flashcards. You can flip them over and view the answers, and every time you view a flashcard, you get some points. You can see when I view a flashcard there, the points goes up in the top right. So I'm going to show you how this works behind the scenes with Trophy, and then how we use the API to display points within the application. So if I jump into Trophy, this is the points dashboard. It shows you different analytics about kind of a histogram of how many points people have achieved, the total points earned over time, and then the breakdown of where points are being earned and how they're being earned. So to start off, we need to set up a metric. Metrics in Trophy just model different user interactions, and then you can build point systems around those interactions just within Trophy. So for this demo app, I've created a flashcards viewed metric. And if I come into that, you get a dashboard that shows you kind of how many users are contributing to that metric, and kind of their progression over time. If I configure that, I've given it a name and a key, and this key is what I use in my application to reference the metric and to send events against it based on different user interactions. So if I head into the code, I'll show you where we use this. So this is the code that runs the demo flashcards application. And this is a component called flashcards. This is just a Next.js app. And this flashcards component is the component that you see that holds the flashcards on the screen. So it's this one here that kind of handles all the different state management around these flashcards. And every time that I select a flashcard, I've hooked into that process here, and I just track the flashcard viewed event. I get the user ID from my system. You can get that however you get that usually in your platform, and then I pass it into a view flashcard method. And this is a server action in Next.js, but this can be go and call your own API or be any kind of server-side process that you have. And all of this does is use the Trophy SDK to track an event against that particular user. So I'm saying that against the flashcards viewed metric, and that's where this key comes from. You can see that's stored on the constant. I use that key to reference the metric when I'm sending an event, and I just tell Trophy that this particular user viewed one flashcard. This could be 5 or 10, depending on how I set my application up. But for this, every time I click a button to view a flashcard, this function is being run, and so the value that I need to pass is just 1. And what this means is anybody that clicks that button is going to get automatically tracked as viewing that flashcard. And so if I come back to Trophy, this is all fine. In the point system now, I can go to configure, and I can create triggers around that metric to award points based on different logic that I think is relevant for my application. So I've created a few different triggers here. Every one flashcard viewed, I'm awarding 5 points. If I click on that, you can see how I've configured it. I've just created a new trigger with the type of metric. I've picked the metric that I want this trigger to be for. I've got a threshold of 1, which means every time this metric is increased by 1 by a particular user, then I will award them 5 points. And obviously I could change that to be whatever I wanted, but it's all configured in Trophy rather than in my code base. So if there's any changes to this logic, perhaps I've got lots and lots of different triggers that I want to manage, then I can just manage them in Trophy. I don't have to then go back to the dev team and get them to make changes every time I want to change the point system. I've got other ones, so every 10 flashcards, you get 10 points, a little extra bonus once you get to 10. Then I've got some other triggers here which are interesting. So these are actually based on streaks. So if you know Duolingo streaks, it's like a daily reward for completing a lesson in Duolingo. And I've set up a streak also in this platform. I'll just quickly show you the streak here. So I'm on a 1-day streak right now, and it kind of shows me my progress. This is all done by Trophy as well, by the way, behind the scenes, but I won't dive into that too much in this video. There's other videos that go through that. But for points, I can also create triggers based on streaks. So for every 5 days of streak, you get 10 points, and every 7 days you get 50 points. So you can kind of change these numbers up to incentivize people to keep their streak. And the triggers work the exact same way. It's just a different type. You say how long do you want the streak to be for, so 5 days. and then every 5 days you get 10 points, or however you want to configure that. And that's really all the setup that's required. Any product manager or developer can come in and manage these triggers, create new ones, change the logic, preview, and kind of try and balance the experience. So if I wanted to check that, a streak length of 10 days, how many points would this person get? If I had a streak length of 10 days and they viewed 500 flashcards, they'd be on 3,070 points. So if I had a new trigger, I could then try and see how that would change the balance of the system before I deploy it. So that is kind of all of the logic behind the scenes. And then that is automatically tracked by trophy against every user, and it keeps track of how many points everybody's got. And then you can just use trophy APIs to fetch that directly based on a particular user. So I'll show you kind of the behind the scenes of where all this data is coming from. So there's just, in this actions file again, I've got a load of server actions. And the ones that are relevant are get user points. Again, this is just using the trophy SDK. This time is the points method. You pass in the user ID. Then you can also ask trophy to give you back a certain number of most recent awards that the user has got. So this is saying, give me back the user's points and the 5 most recent points awards that they were given. And that is used in the UI here to show latest awards. It gives you back a date. It gives you a running total of the points at that time and how many points were awarded. So you can see today, as I've been making this video, I've accrued points up from 95 up to 120. But I could ask for, the last 50 awards if I wanted to show this, but this is just a nice way to keep users in touch with exactly what they're doing. And obviously this updates as you use the platform. So it's quite a nice thing to be able to show. This chart is also powered by Trophy. So I've also got a get point summary. So you pass in the user ID and then a few different configuration options. So this will give you a summary of all of the points events for that user. You can choose to aggregate it however you like. So you can do daily, weekly, or monthly. I've got it based on a daily aggregation. You send a start date and an end date that you want to fetch that data for, and it will return you back essentially an array of data points that you can then use to build any kind of chart that you like. And that's exactly what you see in this chart, is the points over that time period. Last thing is, how do you earn points? So it's good to show users how they can interact with the feature. Otherwise, it's kind of this nameless thing that just sits in the corner of your screen, and people aren't really sure kind of why it's going up and when. So it's good to show people exactly how they can earn points in your platform. And so there's APIs where you can fetch those reasons as well. So this is coming directly from these triggers. You can just fetch all of these for an API that Trophy has, and then display those in your application. So you can see all those same triggers that I've got in the dashboard are now being shown in that application as well. And obviously, if I added any new ones, the API would automatically return those, and you don't have to make any code changes. You're just kind of creating the sync between your system or your UI and Trophy, and whatever you do in there will reflect automatically in your system. And we've also got a nice histogram here just showing kind of the distribution of points between users. So there's a few users that are 600 plus points, a few on 300, and more obviously in the lower end of points. But again, that's also coming from Trophy. So let me show you those as well. Get points triggers is what's showing kind of the how you earn points. Very simple. Just returns back any active triggers that you've got in Trophy. It won't return inactive triggers. So if you want to play around with those before you release them, you can, and they won't be returned in the APIs. And then the point summary is powering that histogram. Again, it's just another simple Trophy method that you can use if you want to display that type of chart in your application. So, and of course there's a UI to go with this, but I won't dig into all of the kind of NextJS files that power the UI. The more interesting bits is how it interacts with Trophy and how it does all of that tracking. So, very, very simple. You can apply this to lots of different use cases. As we've said, Duolingo, language learning, any kind of ed tech really, or fitness tracking. Also a lot of B2B use cases as well, around performance and growth. So yeah, there's lots you can build. So yeah, give it a try.